Testing it out.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. I think we're good. I think we're good.
All
This
right.
is such a
Uh,
clusterfuck. I have no idea what's going on.
so we are so we are live.
I think we're live. I don't know.
So everybody, if you're seeing this and getting this, it's Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, a little after 9:30 Eastern time here, Friday, November 29th. It has been a while since we have done a Detroit City Sportscast that was, whether episode form or even live form. We've been heavy on Detroit City content, Detroit City FC content the last couple of months. I think we might have done something with the Tigers with sorry, at the beginning of October, but it's been wanted to at least do something, be able to catch up everybody what's been going on with this Lions season that is continuing to amaze us, but also this Red Wings and Pistons seasons that are now almost 2 months in, or month and a half in. So we'll get through all of that tonight. But why don't we start, Adam? How are you doing? You got a new computer and you are going through all the production and fun stuff. So you got some new setups, hence allowing us to try this new gig out. So how are you feeling apart from the potential stress of this?
I went to our YouTube page, youtube.com/the Majors TV, and looks like
like it's
it looks like things are live, and I see everything going through on the mic. I see you going through on the mic, so I'm guessing everything's good. I guess we'll find out afterwards. But nonetheless, we're recording this, so if if for some reason it's not live, um, we have the recording of it. So whatever.
and then, yeah, and then that'll get added to our the other forums wherever everyone checks out their podcasts. Now that we've done this, as opposed to our standard, just drop it in YouTube and try what we've been doing in the fall and even in the summer. So we'll just kind of roll with this, and I would say Detroit sports topic of most importance, ranking down. We got to start. We got to start with Detroit Lions. So I think the last time you and I gathered for something on the Lions, it was live when they beat the Cardinals, if I recall right, in Week 3. And we've done some, for those that have been checking out our post-match recaps on the Lions on whether it's on the Majors TV on YouTube or Instagram search channels or Detroit.themajorsports.com or social media. Thank you, y'all rock. It has been a wild time, to say the least, to be a Detroit Lions fan. A unusual time. Probably as of now, and we can confirm, like, we're entering an uncharted territory. This Detroit Lions team that you have seen in the 2024 season so far, 12 games in after their game yesterday on Thanksgiving, as seems to play with different levels of fuck you attitude and swagger and their own style each and every game. They seem to round up as many injuries on their depth chart as I'm trying to think of an appropriate term on here. A lot of injuries, so to speak. But nothing seems to faze them right now. Because the Detroit Lions, since their Week 2 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have ripped off 10 wins in a row. Have ripped off wins by, 38+ point wins this year. 2 times scoring 50 points in the regular season. Had a stretch where they went, 12 quarters without a touchdown. As of yesterday, and for the first time since 2016, won a game on Thanksgiving Day. Although I will say that was probably due to, in part, of major things from the coaching staff and the Chicago Bears, which have made their first, because of that, made their first coaching change during a season in their over 100-year history. There's a lot we could talk about, Adam, about this Lions team so far. But where do you want to start with this, 11-1 fucking freight train that is literally the footballing inclination of the bad boys Pistons teams of the 89 and 90, but maybe even more badass.
Yeah, it's really been remarkable what they've been able to do. I mean, this has been like a season of redemption, and like they're just going through and checking off every single box as far as like just kind of like I said, just like kind of like redeeming themselves and making up for everything that the team and the fans have gone through forever.
Yeah.
Whether it's a long term history or whether it's more of like a short term history. Um, you know, Long term history, just kind of the overall futility that this team has displayed. Um, the short term, not being able to win on Thanksgiving, um, not being able to beat Seattle, not being able to beat Dallas, and then they just throw in all of this other stuff too, like going on in just up until yesterday, which is fine. I mean, just destroying the spreads and having that just that remarkable stat of not allowing a touchdown in the second half and shutting out teams in the second half and Jared Goff just having a season just an incredible season as far as his completion percentages and his touchdown interception ratios and you just can go on with this team. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, what they're doing as a tandem, and then the injuries that they've started to rack up. It just doesn't matter. I mean, you have that next man up mentality. I mean, as cliche as that sounds, and when you heard Dan Campbell talk about it and everything, you're like, that's just cliche, coach talk, but that's exactly what it's happening right now with them is it's a next man up mentality. And when their best player went down, Aiden Hutchinson with the broken leg, who's if the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, maybe he'll be back then. They went out and got Zadarius Smith, and the defense now is better than what it was when Aiden Hutchinson was still in the lineup. And that's not to say that Aiden Hutchinson was a problem or anything like that. That's a testament to what this team saw and what they decided they had to do based on the shit that was thrown at them. And it's remarkable. I mean, you can go on too with this team, and like I said, it's weird, Garrett, because us being Lions fans, we've never seen anything like this. Hell, the NFL in some regard has never seen anything like this before. I mean, they're making comparisons. I mean, this team right now, the 2024 Detroit Lions, are drawing comparisons to the 2007 New England Patriots. That's who they're they're being compared to at some points right now. So,
John Kaminsky, Derek Barnes, Aiden Hutchinson, Manuel Mosley, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Josh Paschal in and out. These are all guys that have been out significantly to one way or another. Picked up season-ending injuries. Marcus Davenport. Give me some more that you're thinking of as you're looking at if I'm forgetting anybody. Terry and Arnold's been out for some games here and there. And it's Rackstraw.
Did you say Alex Anzalone?
Carlton. Yes, and Alex Anzalone. Carlton Davis this past game. And literally with all that.
And not only that, I mean, it's not just injury too. I mean, the stuff that J-Mo has been going through this year. You know, the stuff with the the off the field stuff that whether it's the gun charge that was thrown out, the suspension over the banned substances. It's just nothing phases this team, and that's just a testament to the true culture change that this team has undergone, thanks to Sheila Ford, Dan Campbell, Chris Spielman, even the assistant coach, Brad Holmes. It's just they've completely turned it around.
Yeah, and if you look at the fact too, and we didn't when we were talking about some of the highlights, we haven't even mentioned the two safety combo that lived together. I don't know if they're still rooming together, but I think it was in the summer. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph with 7 picks this year already. Or was it 8? I think it was 7, and he almost got his 8th yesterday. This team has got 383 points after 12 games and is leading the NFL in that, while having allowed the 4th fewest points. I think any criticism that was had over Aaron Glenn last year is all moot now. I think it's all validation taken to another level. How many, and also when you think about this team too, and like Zadarius Smith, I did the comparison to the bad boys. Zadarius Smith is the Lions' also equivalent to Rasheed Wallace coming over to the Pistons in 2004. Literally like swagger. Even I know he showed Z's first home game with the Lions. He showed up in a Rasheed Wallace Pistons jersey, and it was just like, all right, let's roll. What's been so far? What's been your favorite win of the year so far? Or favorite moment, like thing that caught you off guard in a good way so far?
The thing that caught me off guard in a good way was the win in Green Bay, probably. Just because it was outdoors, it was in bad weather, and that was, I thought, one of the legitimate concerns with this team. Could they go into a hostile environment, outdoors, in bad weather, and win a game? And they did it. Right. And not only did they do it, they did it convincingly, too. It didn't come on a last-second field goal. It didn't come because of some coaching blunder. They went out and they destroyed the Green Bay Packers that game. And whatever happened,
while not appearing in the scoreline, it was the Lions controlled the narrative, and the Packers could not, and the Packers shot, and due to the Lions controlling the game in that, Green Bay could, self-inflicted themselves multiple times. And that's with Brian Branch being ejected in that game too.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, Brian Branch ejected in that game. But yeah, I mean that's what it is for me. I mean they silenced a lot of, I think, critics in that one, because Jared Goff always seemed to have some issue going outdoors and playing outdoors and playing well outdoors. Yeah. But that game in and of itself, I think, I think it proved a lot of people wrong, and it truly showed that this team can win anywhere. It doesn't matter who they're playing, where they're playing, or what they're playing in. This team can can play in any scenario. So
I think Seattle and Dallas for me were like resounding, like massive, like feel good win. Like you said, getting rid of the humps. When we beat Seattle, it was like, all right, first win over them, I think, since 2012. The black kits, the black unis look sick. The whole does not going into Dallas. Yes, you lose Aiden Hutchinson, but the way you won in Dallas
you're
on
still in soccer mode with calling it kits.
yeah, still always in there. That's when you mix the worlds up. But going into Dallas, yes, we lost Hutchinson for that, but we we were up by 3 touchdowns when Hutchinson got hurt, and then we still outscored them 20-3 after that, or something like that. We just that was a like we remember December 30th, 2023. We're gonna like beat beat it out of you, that beat this misery onto you. But my think my two favorite wins are the games at Minnesota and the games at Houston, because in those games we got tested. Minnesota jumped out to a 10-0 lead, and came. The Lions had an 11-point double-digit lead in 2 different occasions. Minnesota clawed back, took the lead, but Jake Bates with a game-winning field goal, and then to go into Houston the game week after Green Bay, and that we can admit that was not that was our game where down 16 at the half, Jared Goff 3 interceptions. Houston had done forced some great pressure. Goff had another 2 picks, or did he have 4 picks in the first half? Either way, he had wound up with 5. We're around 23-7 at halftime. At that moment, I'm content with calling that game a loss because it's a long season. Houston's a good team. You're in Houston. It's a crowd. But then, like, Carlton Davis with 2 great interceptions. The second one was just a great a great play on that. Houston scoreless in the second half. You got to see the might of what the success of this team means to these Lions fans who are traveling in droves to see their team take over stadiums, force false start calls in another team's stadium, as in Houston. Come back, Jake Bates in his hometown against his former team, kick 1 field goal from 58 to tie it, 1 field goal from 52 to win it. And like I said, you can go back to my recap on the Majors TV channel on YouTube, where I'm just literally kind of like laughing my ass off because we just won this game. And like yesterday, okay, was I thinking there's a chance we might lose this yesterday because it's Thanksgiving Day? Yes, but what happened with the Chicago Bears self-inflicting themselves, Adam, you and I have seen that many times with the Lions over the years. Hell, even Marty Morningway got the Bears in 2003 when we won the coin toss, but he decided to defer because of the wind or some bullshit like that. So we're here now. And the wild thing about the NFC North this year is there are 8 teams in the NFC right now with winning records out of the 16. 3 of those 8 teams are in the NFC North. The Lions at 11-1, the Minnesota Vikings at 9-2, who are hosting the NFC West leading Arizona Cardinals on Sunday, and the 9-3 Green Bay Packers, who won yesterday on Thanksgiving night against the Miami Dolphins. Your remaining 5 games for the Lions are the Packers coming to Ford Field for Thursday Night Football on Amazon. Although that should also be on like ABC, I think they usually drop it on local if I recall right. So that is at I think 8 or 8:15, and then the Buffalo Bills come into town on December 15th. That is a 4:25 p.m. game on CBS, and then at Chicago on December 22nd. Monday night at San Francisco on December 30th. There's a chance that the Lions could potentially knock the 49ers out of the playoffs. And then the last game of the season home to the Minnesota Vikings. Is there any of those remaining 5, which ones of those concern you?
I mean, well, next week against Green Bay definitely concerns me. I think it was, and I know Green Bay is going to be playing, you know, on 7 days as well because they played yesterday against the Dolphins. The Lions are really beat up right now. I mean, there's two key games in there. It's Green Bay at home and it's Minnesota at home. Um, Given how tight things are right now in the division, um, really in the NFC. I mean, you've got the
Yeah.
Eagles right there. You've got the Vikings right there. Um, you've got Green Bay, sitting right there as well. It's an incredibly tight division. It's incredibly tight conference, but I'm definitely looking towards those two divisional games against the Packers next week and the Vikings. And then Buffalo too. I mean, you've got. I mean, the Lions do have a tough final stretch here. I mean, the Bills game as well, just because that very well may be a Super Bowl preview, between the Lions and the Bills. So, yeah, I would I would have to say those three games. Yeah, I think San Francisco is pretty much done. I just injuries and they don't look very good. Kyle Shanahan, I don't want to say he's lost that team. It's just there's just too many variables going against them right now, and I think Brock Purdy is. I think the film is out on Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy isn't a good quarterback, and I think everything's kind of catching up in that sense with the 49ers.
And also injuries to them because who was like McCaffrey was out for a lot of the year. Debo Samuel was dealing with the fluid in the lungs. Ayuk was out for the year, right? Because Ayuk had ligament damage, if I recall right. So the thing is, they've had a few things, and they've lost a bit that people aren't scared of playing them anymore. Like you said with Brock Purdy.
Well, I mean,
Last season,
you've had
last season,
teams. Yeah, you've had teams catch up to them.
yeah.
You've had whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Packers, whether it's the Lions, you've had teams catch up to them, and that's what happens. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's I want if there's an availability to eliminate them from the playoffs, I want it to be us because I think the narrative someone's like, man, we're too. It's like no, this is perfect in our our trail of revenge, our scorched earth tour 2024. I think you know what, the Buffalo game. I'm really looking to see how that game goes against the Bills. Buffalo's been on fire. You know, they're the one blemish on the Kansas City Chiefs record this season. I don't want to if we get in, that might be my preferred Super Bowl matchup. I mean, yeah, everybody wants us to beat the Chiefs, but who wouldn't love a good Rust Bowl matchup to decide Rust Belt matchup to decide a Super Bowl in New Orleans? If you were to predict the remaining five, I'll ask you two parts. How do we go in those remaining five?
I'm not making.
And
I'm
is
not making. I'm not making a prediction. I'll say it right now. I'm not making a
You're not
prediction.
going to do that?
No, I'm not making a
No.
prediction.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay,
Not not doing that.
here's a better one that you can make a prediction on. Are we going to go monochromatic uniforms in every game? Because for those that are wondering, what are you talking about? The Lions have worn a monochromatic uniform in 11 of 12 games. The only game that they didn't wear one was they wore the traditional homes in week 2 and lost that game. Although it wasn't so much Tampa as us shooting ourselves in the foot in other areas. You feel comfortable answering that question?
Yes, I'll answer that question. Was it you that said that you heard that they're going to be wearing the black uniforms against the Bills?
Yeah, so there was a season ticket holder screenshot or whatever it was that came out with pin uniforms that were decided to against them. And it looked like the Bills game was going to be the black uniform day. However, let's also mention that many of us, including ourselves, were under the illusion that we were going to be going with our throwback uniforms on Thanksgiving. We always have. But we are a superstitious bunch, as you can see. And as much as the uniform purists like uni-watch.com love our traditionals, and are absolutely fucking livid that we keep rolling with the monochromatics, if it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it. I love the tradition, but we're 11-1, so
no, and I think that's exactly why they haven't worn. I think that's exactly why they haven't deviated away from the monochromatic, which is fine with me. I like the monochromatic.
You just want racing stripes on those on the blue and white pants.
Yes, they need racing stripes on them. But yes, I think they keep on going monochromatic until they lose in the monochromatic.
Yeah. It almost happened yesterday, but it didn't. So I'm curious to see if that forces something.
Did it almost happen yesterday? Did it almost happen yesterday? I mean, I know people like to say that. People like to point to just little specific things. Did they really almost lose yesterday? I mean, I don't understand how people can say that.
It was looking like it may go to overtime at the very least.
But they didn't almost lose that game yesterday.
I'm in a Discord with people. It's called the 50+1 donor Discord. So it's in our German soccer podcast groups that I'm in, not Hannah Tri Frankfurt, but another one. There's a group of Chicago people in it, and they go, "What's a bigger curse, the Lions on Thanksgiving Day or the Bears finding new ways to blow games?" I just replied back, "Yes," and this is like during the third quarter. And this is a Chicago heavy group. And we saw what happened. And they're like, you got to be fucking kidding. So it's something had to give yesterday. Either the Lions Thanksgiving Day curse or this ridiculous Bears run of misery that started with the Hail Mary debacle in Washington, D.C. The Thanksgiving Day streak ended. But I will say that had it been against the team maybe with a better record and a little bit more sharper things, maybe we met our match. But we haven't yet. And maybe this is the wake-up call, like, hey, we play like that in any of these 5, we're going to drop one. So that might have been like our close to like Tampa game. I'm curious. There's no any given Sunday or any given, well, let's be honest, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe even Fridays, depending on this year, because there was even a Black Friday game today. If you had to give a team MVP or most important player of the season, or do you want to do an offense and defense one, however you want to do it? Right now.
Let's do offense and defense.
All right.
Offense, it's Jared Goff. I think it's Jared Goff. I mean, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And I hate using it because I think quarterback is kind of a cop out, but he's continuing to do what he's done since the beginning of November in 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Jared Goff. I mean, without him, this offense isn't what it is. And yeah, there's some really great supporting pieces, and you hate, narrowing it down to one guy because you look at some of these, some of the supporting cast, whether it's, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, the offensive line, and Penei Sewell. Frank Ragnow, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Um, it's just, yeah, it's Jared Goff. He's the leader on that offense. He's one of the main leaders in that locker room. I can't look past Jared Goff and what he's and the consistency that he's displayed with this team.
You take away that Houston 5 interception game, Jared Goff's in running for the NFL MVP award. He might even still be in the running at season's end. Yeah, I mean, Goff edges it out. I would go, if there was somebody other than Goff, I'd probably go get Jahmyr Gibbs just underneath that. But Jared Goff allows options. And people I know are going to be concerned about Sam Laporta and all that, but Jim Nantz and Tony Romo said it best on commentary yesterday. Jameson Williams has had an emergence year when he's been playing. Tim Patrick has surprised even myself. I don't know about you, because he's been injured the last 2 years, worked his way into a practice squad role, made the active, and how clutch he's basically filled the Josh Reynolds role and then some. Khalif Raymond a little bit when he's been healthy. Unfortunate, his injury at Indianapolis was unfortunate. So when you have all these pieces, you're not going to have as much to give around. So it's actually, maybe a good thing because you're saving Sam Laporta for some of those bigger games. He had a big game yesterday. He had 2 touchdown catches.
Mm-hmm.
So defense, I'm going to go Kirby Joseph. There's so many tough support. Like Jack Campbell's in the running. Jack Campbell is definitely the most improved player on the defensive side from last year to this year. He had a quiet year last year, and I think a lot of people were still asking questions because he wasn't blowing people away. But when Derek Barnes got hurt and everything, he's been a glue in a linebacking core that has had a lot of evolving. But he's the most improved player, the most important, and the MVP of the defense to me right now is Kirby Joseph. 7 interceptions, 1 pick six, a character on the field and off the field, and somebody that I think has also helped get the best out of Brian Branch. What about you?
Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch is going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. When you look at what he can do, he can play the pass. He can run up and stop the run. I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife in that backfield. He can defend the slot. He can defend man to man. He can defend the zone. He's just you ask him whatever you ask him to do, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it at an elite level. For me, it's Brian Branch.
And all of that, Brian Branch may have given us our best Detroit sports moment graphic feeling with that double bird reaction after getting the toss in Green Bay. There's been so many of those of like photo worthy things. I feel like for us as Detroit City FC fans, the Lions social media team has been giving us vintage feels to how Detroit City, like just the spite, the snark, the absolute level of roasting people online. And it's a great feeling. It's an honest feeling. It's an enjoyable feeling on there. Is there anything that's going to stop Dan Campbell from winning Coach of the Year? In your mind?
There shouldn't be. And this is something this is a discussion that I saw happening online that was, just like kind of just getting it was annoying to hear some of the takes from it. Like, yes, Dan Campbell should win it this year. He should.
Yeah.
And then people were like, "Oh, well, everybody thought the Lions were going to be good this year. His year to win it was last year." Well, he didn't win it last year. Who won it? Eric Stefanski won it last year
for the
for
Browns.
the
Yeah,
Browns.
they don't do NFC and AFC. They do it for the whole league.
Yeah, they do it for the whole league. Okay, whatever. So just because he was supposed to win it last year, and the Lions were supposed to be doing everything that they're doing right now, that means that he doesn't win it. That doesn't make any sense
They've
to
done it
me.
best, especially when you look at how they've done it this year.
Yes.
It's not just like a lot of. It's not like a lot of Kansas City Chiefs wins have been close. Luck here. There's been ass whoopings. We talked about probably we're not one of the favorites in Las Vegas. Well, we're now 10-2 against the spread, right? After that, not I think, which is 11-1 the season. Because I think we were 10-1 against the spread before yesterday, and I think winning by 3 meant we didn't. That was a loss because we were what 9.5. Point being is the way we're winning these games is unique. This is a league where more often than not, good team versus bad team games are often going to be close.
Yeah.
And you have had of these 11 wins by the Lions. I'm trying to think of Seattle, Dallas, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Indy. There at least 5 of them have been double digits or more. It's Green Bay even was close to that. So I mean, these have been controlling games. Even the game against the Cardinals by 8. All these there's been games that you've controlled or had the thing on there. It's gonna be wild. My thing to people is this: don't take this for my closing note before we talk about the other things going on. Don't take this for granted. Cherish all of this right now because this is a unique run. It's hard to get a winning streak going in the NFL, but you've won 10 in a row. Best start in franchise history now. There has been so much to like this since 1934, since 1952. Best start ever. May it continue. Still more to go. People are going to be, there's, because ideally, while there's 5 games in the regular season left, we want there to be 8 or 9 total, depending on how it all goes out. But to keep doing it, we got to keep doing our job. So may this continue forward down the field. Keep fucking going, Lions. All right. Red Wings or Pistons? What do you want to talk next?
Let's go to Red Wings.
So the Detroit Red Wings, I think you and I are going to, I think everyone that's checking this out it'll be very interesting to see the moods in that. I think you and I are pretty mellowed out, dare I say realists. So the Detroit Red Wings have played 23 games so far this season, coming off of being very, very close to get into the playoffs, literally on the last period of the last day of the season where it affected them. People were like, after the moves, like, hey, we're good. We're going to be back in this year. However, it can seem like, though, that perhaps with our run of last season, mainly before the final quarter of the season or third of the season, quarter of the season is probably a better term, or fifth, might have been punching above our weight for a bit last season, and reality may be starting to strike this team now and this group of players. So at the time of recording this, the Red Wings they played 23. They actually played earlier today against the New Jersey Devils. They are a couple points outside of a wild card spot, 3 points to be exact. 10 wins, 11 losses, 2 overtime losses. 59 goals scored, 71 goals allowed. A little bit better defensively than they have been in years past, like last season in particular. Struggling a little bit to score goals, more the bottom third in league play. And today's loss was a 5-4 loss to the Jersey Devils. Unfortunately, they had a 2-goal lead to start off the game and had a 3-2 lead, but the Devils picked it up in intensity. So the Winds have the third fewest goals scored in the NHL right now. So how are you after today, after this so far, and what you're seeing around the rest of the league, in particular the Eastern Conference? Are you still feeling like right now this is right where you were thinking it was going to be? Is there any cause of concern in there? Or are you feeling like, hey, we're still going to be in the running for getting the potential last spot or so as this season wears on?
Garrett, you and I had this conversation off air. I don't
A
know,
couple weeks ago.
yeah, a couple weeks ago. And do you remember what I told you? Like this, yeah, this is pretty much where I expected them to be. I mean,
Yeah.
on I know there's people that probably don't like hearing that.
Yep.
But I said it before the season started that this wasn't a playoff team, and they weren't supposed to make the playoffs this year. I know people hate hearing that. They're not.
Right.
They're not supposed to make the playoffs this year. And I will say this. The only thing that is really, really disappointing me this year is I want to see more of the young guys up. Um, I want to see Nate Danielson up. I want to see him up with the team. Um, because if the Red Wings are going to be scratching and clawing this year, I want to see more young guys up with this team. But I don't
You want to
know.
know the fucked up part?
Well, one other thing, I don't know what people are so surprised about because offensively, they're just not there yet. Um, Things are better defensively for them right now.
Yeah.
You have two goaltenders right now who are bridging to Kosa. Um, I don't know what people are expecting at this point right now. Just because it's been years since the last time you've made it to the playoffs doesn't mean you're automatically entitled to be making it when you think they should make it. This was a team that was decimated. This was a team, and I'll say it time and time again, that this was a team that was decimated from the draft. When you miss on pick after pick after pick in the draft, you set yourself back a lot. And that's exactly what happened here. That's exactly what, and I hate to say it, that's exactly what Ken Holland did on his way out. You know, his final 5, 6, 7 years with this team. And yeah, he did bring in Dylan Larkin. And there were a couple of other guys that he did bring in, but for the very most part, you know, that final stretch of Ken Holland's time in Detroit set back this team. It set them back a lot. And when you miss on more than 5 first-round picks, yeah, that's generational.
Was Zadina Holland or Yzerman?
Nope, Zadina was a Holland pick.
So here's where this is a part that you might agree with me on this, but people are going to be like, what are we talking about? Off-season departures. I argue that this team David Perron, Shane Gostisbehere, Jake Wallman, Daniel Sprong, among others, right? I argue that this team is better from top to bottom is better than they were last year. James Reimer out too. People may not believe me on that. How do you feel on that? When you especially look at the guys that have left this team, how little have done in their new clubs. Jake Wallman, people were pissed off that we got so little for him, but Jake Wallman is not even being healthy scratched in San Jose. David Perron's only played, a handful of games in there, no points. Daniel Sprong's already at a second club this year. James Reimer, I don't know. James Reimer's been moved multiple times this year. So I think we're better this year. And it's just last year, we were a streaky team. And we got into a couple of great runs. And I also think, too, and this is going to be a very difficult part because you and I talked about this with Patrick Kane coming back. Patrick Kane had a major surgery that I think that maybe Patrick Kane performed well above expectation last year. Because if you look at right now, he's played 20 games and he's only got 10 points. And he's hurt right now. So perhaps that reality of what he's doing now is similar, like look at what Nick Backstrom, for example. Am I wrong in thinking any of that?
No. No, and Red Wings fans are infamous for, I think overvaluing their own guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you look at what some of these guys are doing now, and yeah, I mean, would I have liked to kept Jake Wallman, especially over a guy like Justin Hall? Yeah, even though Justin Hall scored today. But
he's doing better than I thought he was going to be here. Shocker.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, this team is better. But you just you have to see how things play out. I mean, it's right now we're at the end of November. People just have to see how everything plays out right now. I mean, the trade deadline isn't until March?
But it's February, beginning of March.
Yeah, it's a long season. You're not going to lose or win the playoffs in November or even December. That's just not how things work. Like I said, you just have to see how things play out with this team. And
Yeah, I got a good question for you. Go on after that. Go on. I'll ask you this question after while you're going on for that. I just saw something.
No, go ahead.
Do you feel better after? Because I think the big melting pot down period for this team, amongst others, was the 3-game California losses to the Ducks, Kings, and Sharks. I'm feeling better about this team in the last 2 weeks since then. Are you feeling like that same way as well, or do you just see it as like, hey, this is just part of the season as is, and there's going to be multiple times of these ups and these downs?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a team that's not there yet, you're just going to have ups. You're going to have ups and downs with them all year long.
Yeah.
And things are going to get bad when you have key players out. Dylan Larkin goes down. Things are going to get really bad with this team if Dylan Larkin goes down for an extended period of time like he did last year. One of the real positives, though, is Lucas Raymond has really come on, and that's something that you need, because obviously if Dylan Larkin goes down, you need a guy like Lucas Raymond to step up and kind of fill that role offensively.
A point per game average. He scored his 5th straight game with a goal. 7 goals, 16 assists, 23 points in 23 games. Dylan Larkin with 12 goals and 6 assists. Alex DeBrincat with 20 points in 23 games. Sider with 13, but then this is where the point production travels off. Patrick Kane, credit to Simone Edvinsson, who's got 10 points in 22 games, but he has as many points as Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, more than JT Compher, more than Andrew Kopp, 4 more. So that's what I'm saying is your big hitters right now are hitting. And Lucas Raymond is continuing to take the steps that Lucas Raymond may be the straw that stirs the drink with this Detroit Red Wings. Dylan Larkin's the captain, but Lucas Raymond might be your stud horse. I don't want to compare to so much to Steve's run to Tampa Bay, but I'm seeing the runs of Lucas Raymond being compared to Nikita Kucherov and his progression to the player that Nikita Kucherov is now. And Lucas Raymond is following that trajectory quite well, or surpassing some of those things.
Hey, Garrett.
And he's still young. Yeah.
Can I just kind of highlight, and when I was talking about like generational, like misfortunes for this team,
yeah.
After they won their final cup in 2009 or 2008, excuse me, this was kind of their early round drafting since then. 2009, Landon Ferraro, Thomas Tatar. Those were some of the top two picks. Those came in the second round. In 2010, when they finally got their first round pick, they drafted Riley Sheehan. 2011, they didn't have a first rounder, and they drafted Thomas Jerko in the second round, beginning of the second round. Hold on, let me get back. Kind of got screwed up here. 2012, no first round pick. They drafted Martin Ferk. Then in the fourth round, they drafted Andreas Athanasiou. In 2013, they did have a first round pick, and they used it on Anthony Mantha, who is no longer here anymore and has fallen off the face of the earth, really. I think he's in Calgary now. They also drafted Tyler Bertuzzi that year in the second round.
Calgary or Vegas? Look.
I think he's with Calgary.
Keep going.
In 2014, they hit on it. They drafted Dylan Larkin, 15th overall. 2015, and you're gonna have to help me out with the name because I can never pronounce this name. Shankov.
Shezhnikov.
Yeah.
Andrei Shevchnikov?
Yes. 2016, Dennis Chalowski was their first round pick.
Which, by the way, we traded Pavel Datsyuk to the Coyotes, and the Coyotes then went and drafted Jacob Chychrun.
Yes. 2017, Michael Rasmussen, who's turned into a decent player for this team, but by no means a ninth overall pick. He's by no means a high draft pick. In the second round, they drafted Gustav Lidstrom. And then 2018.
He's back in Europe.
Yep. And then 2018, Ken Holland's final draft with the Red Wings, he drafted Zadina. And in the second round, or in the end of the first round, he drafted Joe Veleno, who's obviously still with the team, and then Jonathan Berggren in the second, as a high second round pick. And then beyond that, I mean, this is just a comparison for people who want to shit on Steve Yzerman for the team not going out and just running roughshod in the playoffs right now. In 2019, Steve Yzerman started out drafting Moritz Seider. He drafted Elmer Soderblom in the 6th round that year, who's probably going to be up with the team next year, full time, I'm guessing. He probably should be up with the team right now. The following year, he drafted Lucas Raymond, 1st round, 4th overall. 2021, he drafted Simone Edvinsson, who's obviously playing with the team now.
Pairing with Moritz.
Yep. In 2022, he drafted Marco Kasper, 1st round, 8th overall.
Playing now.
Yep. And
he earned his way in the team.
In 2023, he drafted Nate Danielson, 9th overall, and Axel Sandin Pellikka, 17th overall in the first round. Who's
still in Europe.
Who's still in Europe. Probably could be playing in the NHL right now, at least in Grand Rapids, but they opted to keep him in Europe for another year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would just you make a
Yeah,
juxtaposition
we don't.
between the Iserman draft picks and then that final 10 years of Ken Holland, and it's just that's why they're not good right now. That's why they're not going off and winning, playoff series or going to the playoffs and winning playoff series. It's just it's not in the cards for them right now because they didn't have the draft picks then.
If anyone wants to say, well, what about free agency? You have to talk about it being you're going to get the players that you get based on how attractive of a market that you are. And unfortunately, Detroit not making the playoffs, Holland from the end of Mike Babcock era to the Blashill era game to even Derek Lalonde's play right now, and it's becoming more and more of an attractive market now. But the problem is because you were not an attractive market 2-3 years ago, you got your Ben Sherrads, Jeff Petries, Andrew Kopps, JT Compher is a little bit better than Andrew Kopp, but the point I'm getting is you're going to have these Justin Hull, you're going to have these contracts that are on this team right now and unfortunately hindering the books that are, unfortunately doing like the names. DeBrincat, it was a good move. If he keeps this form up throughout the season, it's going to look a lot better than what last year did. The Patrick Kane move may be a gamble now if this is more the reality. I counter with Vladimir Tarasenko. While the point production is not there, a lot of shots have either hit post or that. He was dealing with the flu, which, the flu can fuck anybody up, or even a top stud athlete. But I still argue that it's a much bigger improvement than David Perron and everything on here. The goaltending is already much better. Now, is it unfortunate to see Ville Husso decimated by injuries, wrecking his form, and now he's in Grand Rapids pretty much permanently until he moves off the team's books? Yes. But Cam Talbot, Alex Lyon, turning out to be a great 1-2 combo. Talbot, sub-2.5 GAA. And $2 million a year on 2 years. It's either 2 for 2 or 2 for 2.5. Either way, great value. I almost argue that Alex Lyon, if Steve Yzerman really wanted to, because Carolina's down a goalie right now, right?
Yeah.
8 to 12 weeks. So if Steve Yzerman really wanted to, he could move Alex Lyon, and then you bring Sebastian Cossa up now.
I don't want to do that because I want Sebastian Cossa playing.
No, Sebastian Cossa, Grand Rapids is on a great run this year. Have him play on this Grand Rapids team through this year. Lions off the books next year?
Yes.
In the offseason?
Yes. Lyon and Husso are both off the books, I believe, next season.
So, you would think this is the Sebastian Cossa move then. I think there's a lot of... and also people want to look at it. It's still early ebbs and flows of a hockey season on there right now, too. If anything, there's a lot of middle ground teams in the Eastern Conference that are a couple of points ahead of us or a couple of points behind us that we can punch weight in. I think the Florida Panthers are the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference right now. I think they're going to be. But when you look at the Leafs are banged up. Boston fired Jim Montgomery. Jim Montgomery's now with the St. Louis Blues. There's a lot of teams that I think, I think it will be – it's more important to take a look at what is this team like on New Year's Day? What is this team like in it's not the All-Star game anymore. It's the Four Nations tournament, which I believe is the second weekend in February. Where is the Red Wings at in the standings in those positions? That'll give us an idea on what the rest of this season is going to be like. Breathe, people. Nobody ever said it was easy. This is what happens when you learn how to win. I think that's a perfect segue because I feel like as we get towards talking about the Detroit Pistons, is learning to win basically the thing we've been talking about this team in our main conversations. The saying, the phrase that we've been repeating over and over again about this 2024 25 Detroit Pistons team, they're learning how to win. They have JB Bickerstaff first year of this team. I was not I'm going to be completely honest with you here. We talked about this team, that the last couple of years, the painfulness, the 14 wins last year, 17 wins the season before, 23 wins the season before that. Those times were behind us. I was thinking they could win double their win total. However, as of tonight, after tonight, which as I've had this on TV on mute, a 130-106 win at the Indiana Pacers. 3-0 in NBA Cup play, which, by the way, folks, I don't want to hear shit or slander about the NBA Cup. The NBA Cup is fun as fuck.
It is fun. It is very fun.
Biased.
I love it.
Huh?
Yeah, I like it.
We're also Detroit City FC fans, and we love a good Cup competition. So the magic of the Cup extends beyond sport.
If you like association football, if you like soccer, because I know we call it, it's called soccer, right? In the United States, especially if you like, European, what's happening in Europe and everything like that with, FA and what's your favorite? What's your favorite? Yeah, I was gonna say Garrett's favorite one, the Pokal in Germany. You like these types. You like these types of things, so.
Yeah. And and the NBA Cup is fucking magical. It's some of the best banter you can find. The Detroit Pistons are 3-0 in an FA in the. I was gonna say FA. 3-0 in the NBA Cup. They're 9-12 to start the season, and they could be with a couple of different plays here and there could be a 500 or more team right now. That's with Cade Cunningham being out for some games. We're seeing the emerge, like Jaden Ivey looking like himself. Jalen Duren's been here and there off a little bit, but you're seeing like free agent signings like Malik Beasley exceed my expectations so far. Massive game today. Tobias Harris, Simone Fontecchio, like you're getting a group of it seems like a group of players that are playing well. Oscar Thompson is back with the team. After having to deal with blood clots from last season going into this season, and it's just also a much better coached team. You're seeing what JB Bickerstaff is bringing to the team. This team still could be a little bit better defensively, but for the first time in I don't know how many years, this Pistons team has given me hope. What about you, man?
Yeah, 100%. This is one of the reasons why you brought in JB Bickerstaff too, because you saw what he's done with the Cavaliers, turning that team around, a young team who, just couldn't win games, molding them into a unit that, challenged for a playoff spot, and ultimately went to a playoffs. Ultimately went to the playoffs. And I think they beat the Magic too.
They were the fourth best team in the Eastern Conference last year.
Yeah. So, that's what JB Bickerstaff's bringing to the table, and shocker. You have a coach that wants to coach, and this is what you get with it. So, I'm pleased with what I've been seeing with them.
Mm-hmm.
They look much more like a cohesive unit than what we saw last year. Yes, I would agree with you. Yes, defensively they can be a little bit better, but beggars can't be choosers, especially when especially when you're talking about the Pistons.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to go through their schedule, from last year, just to see when they got their 9th win of the season last year, because they're already catching up to their win total from last year. How many did they win last year, Garrett? 14?
They won 14 in last season, 17 the year before that, and 23 in 21-22. So Like, I'm looking at some stats right now for people just to see. Cade Cunningham's played 17 games. He's got 23.5 points, almost 9 assists, 7.2 rebounds. Jaden Ivey, 18.4 points per game, almost 4.5 boards, a little over 4 assists, almost a steal, half a block a game. Malik Beasley off the bench, averaging 15.3 a game. And I think this is someone before. Okay, I could be a little. I think if anything, there's been some calls maybe for putting Isaiah Stewart in over Jalen Duren right now in some of the defense. I know when our discussion with Matt, I think this was after the game last week against Chicago, but at the same time, Jalen Duren's top 4 in most double doubles under the age of 21 in NBA history, and that's missing a significant amount of time last season and all that. Raw talent, and that was somebody we got in the second round trade. I mean, I think even like a guy like Ron Holland is a rookie. I know people are going to dog him for missing both free throws against Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, but at the same time, this is how players learn.
Mm-hmm.
You learn through pain. How did these Pistons teams of the 80s win 89 win 2 titles? You had Bird steals the inbound pass in 87 against on the Isaiah inbound. You had the phantom foul call and lose to the Lakers in 80. You had the rough part of that 88 good. It wasn't the best you went. And you have Dantley for Aguirre. Point being is, and even the go-to-work Pistons, 02, you stumble in the playoffs against Boston. 03, you have the top seed in the Eastern Conference, but you couldn't beat the Nets. And then, unfortunately, that meant Rick Carlisle went, and Larry Brown came in, and you won a title. You almost won 2, if not for motherfucking Big Shot Bob. And 06. Like, the point is like, iron sharpens iron. And there is a general sense of hope, general sense of feeling good in this Pistons team. And Adam and I are always having a banter. We've talked about this before in our recordings, but anyone that wants to dog Tom Gores still, and he's deserved, it's fair. I'm going to counter with this. If Chris Ilitch was running the Pistons, Monty Williams would still be the head coach of this fucking team. Now, would Chris Ilitch hire Monty Williams with all that money? Maybe not, because nickel and diming. But, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
Tom Gores wrote the check for Monty Williams to go away. I mean, that's... Yeah. I mean, you can't... I don't know how much you can get on Tom Gores. You can't say that Tom Gores doesn't want to spend money, because, like I said, he spent a lot of money to bring Monty in, and he spent a lot of money for him to go away. So,
only reason why Monty took the job, let's be honest, is that dude did not want to coach.
No, he did not want to coach, and it took, it took an offer he couldn't refuse to get him in, and it didn't work, and and that was it. So.
I also think too, another thing to make note of, and we do like to talk about some things off the court as well as on the court. The Pistons were named the Front Office Sports 2024 Most Impactful Award by Sports Innovation Labs, which recognizes organizations and companies to make an impact for the people and communities around there for the full potential. So when you look at like their cost of the city and those type of things too. So I think this is a resurgence time for the Detroit Pistons as a brand, as a team, and the start of, what's the word I'm looking for? The start of them forging this core group of people identity. We've had the bad boys in the 80s, and I know they've talked about the 1990 team not being the bad boys, but, it's the culmination of that. Go to work Pistons, and now the do work era, I think is what they want to call this one. This team is currently holding the last play-in spot in the Eastern Conference.
a ninth win of the season last year came on February 27th against the Bulls.
Yes.
That was their ninth.
Yes.
That was their ninth win of the season.
Um, a couple of results here and there. They're over 500 right now.
Yeah.
Both games with Charlotte this year. The Houston game, that's 3. A little bit better defense against the fucking Bulls when the Bulls made over 50% from 3. I'm looking at their schedule. So they beat Indy tonight. They got Milwaukee on Tuesday. So there's one game left in the NBA Cup group stage for East B. A win over Milwaukee puts the Pistons in for Las Vegas, I think. Or they have to qualify, or is that what I'm trying to? I'm not sure how it all is. Greg Kelser read it all off, but they didn't have a graphic to go with it. The Pistons are home tomorrow night, so it's Friday night recording this. So Saturday night, November 30th, they are home to the Philadelphia 76ers. That is at 7:00. Then they are home to Milwaukee on Tuesday, December 3rd, the last of the NBA Cup group games. Then at Boston and at New York to end next week. A little bit of a tougher week. The Celtics are, resurgent at 16-3. But you know what? There's plenty of basketball left. Plenty of basketball to be played. But I'll tell you what, it's pretty fun and exciting right now. Anything you want to add in closing to them before we start to wrap?
No, the NBA Cup thing is like you said, it's fun right now. I'm kind of looking at the standings right now. And they didn't wrap anything up yet. I'm not quite sure how it works, but everybody in their group aside from themselves and Milwaukee have been eliminated from the knockout contention.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the East here.
Atlanta's the only team in the Eastern Cup groups that have clinched a spot.
Yes. Yes, and that's basically it. So right now it's down to Boston, Atlanta, Detroit, Milwaukee, the Knicks, and Orlando. So yeah, it's fun. I have no idea how it's working right now, but I'll be interested to see how things kind of play out with it.
So now for those that are asking, all 4 of these group games count towards regular season.
Yes.
And then also all games in the knockout round except the championship game also count towards the regular season format. So how it goes. So the winners of each group advance to the knockout stage, and then the second place teams potentially get in to the quarterfinals based on rankings. So the best second place teams. So this is very similar to, for those that are fans of the World Cup, also too, in generalized other sports. So like where you look at Olympic hockey and round robin tournaments and groups of 4 group play type things. This is where being in second can get you through to these things, potentially. So right now, the Pistons right now, before tonight, were the second best second place team. So if this serves me right, you have 3 group winners and the best second place, and then the best second place team in each conference. So if the Pistons right now, if you beat the Bucks on Tuesday, you're in to the NBA Cup quarterfinals. And what's the benefit? I believe each player gets $500,000.
There you go.
So the magic of the NBA Cup.
By
the way,
go ahead.
That NBA court at home. I was going to say the Pistons NBA court, that blue fucking pops in person. I was able to go to the NBA Cup game against the Miami Heat, and that was wild. Although I must say, the better the Pistons do, the more that a Pistons game feels like a Pistons game and not a Miami Heat fan takeover. Because when Tyler Hero got fucking hot, too much Heat chance. It was like the fucking Raptors were in town, because Toronto, for those that don't know, Toronto Raptors fans love crossing the border and coming to a Pistons game. So, but it's exciting times. Check out the NBA Cup. You know what? And also, NBA Twitter continues to be some NBA Twitter and social media continue. I've just got my Blue Sky account, so I got to see how NBA Blue Sky is. But it's NBA social media is wild, and basketball social media, because I don't want to not mention the WNBA too, because they had a massive historic year this past year too. So I think that is that also needs to be mentioned, as well as we need an WNBA team back in this city. I think it is solely. I think that is something we are solely missing right now.
I agree.
All right, closing. Detroit Tigers stuff. Nothing too new. Off-season stuff right now. Nothing really new as far as signings. I'd say we should probably expect. Do they usually do anything before the end of the year, or should be once January comes, we should start hearing some rumblings and all that fun stuff?
I mean, they could make signings right now. So yeah, I don't know.
There's rumors of stuff like Alex Bregman potentially being in mind.
Yeah.
Anthony there, but nothing concrete yet. So just a few of the Tigers players have gotten married. Detroit City FC news. So I would say we'll keep it very, very light here, because we have been going very, very deep into details on our Detroit City FC centric program for the Majors. Detroit, it makes City make Spence, as well as when we've been gathering on Channel 451. The only real, we just actually recorded that last episode this week, which you can check out on the Majors TV YouTube. Another fun one. Adam, anything you want to add to that?
No, just go check out the latest episode of Make City Make Spence. You'll be able to catch everything there. So.
Yeah, note Detroit City FC content's about 40 so minutes into the episode, because we decided to get a little bit heavy-handed with the on topics. Also, subscribe to our buddy Sean Spence's Patreon, Words About Shapes, $3 a month. But for our sake, it is the best written American soccer content you can find. So, and that's just us being biased, but also we believe we're correct on that too. All right, so I think we've touched everything that I know of. Let's talk about where we can find Adam.
Team SNX Adam on Twitter, Blue Sky, and just make sure you check out the Majors on social media. Team SNX Detroit on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on the web at detroit.themajorsports.com. Make sure you check out the Majors TV at youtube.com/MajorsTV. Like and subscribe there. Also like and subscribe on most podcasting platforms, Apple Music, Spotify. Like, subscribe, and then also leave a 5-star review if you can. That offers up a lot of support for the podcast to kind of help it in that algorithm, kind of move us to the top there. So if anybody's looking for Detroit sports content, when they type it into the search bar inside Apple Music or in Spotify, the more likes, the more reviews, the more 5-star reviews there are for us, that's going to continue to bump us up to the top of that algorithm. So, if you want to support the podcast, do it through those means right now, by leaving a review, 5-star review, and so.
Then you can find me Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and now Blue Sky as of Tuesday at GM Comats. Also, you can find our our Channel 451 content for our secondary Detroit second main original and also Detroit City FC content. That's at Channel 451 on YouTube, 451DET on Twitter. I don't think there's a blue sky yet for the groups on there, so that might be coming up. That's going to probably be an episode for that coming up next week, I believe. And like I said, there'll be plenty of more Detroit City FC news as well. If they don't feature a nose, those will also be in the molding videos that I do, which are on both Majors TV and Channel 451 YouTubes when they come out. So we are back, new eras on this. Look forward to everyone checking out this episode wherever they have. Great to be back in this fall. We'll be back to a more regular schedule now of dropping casts out. I'm not sure if we'll do, if not next week, then the following week after. We'll keep everybody in the loop of what's going on here as we now get into December. A year has flown by incredibly fast, but plenty of things to be happy for in the Detroit sports world. So, Adam over there, Garrett over here. Thanks for checking us out. Until next time, see ya.